Hello and welcome to this lecture. And in this lecture, we will go ahead and learn how we can add the email field to the user registration form. So right now, the user registration form does not have any sort of an email field, and we need to add an additional field to the form itself. Now, if you want to look how exactly we have created the form, then you can go to the register.html page, and here you will see that while creating this particular form right here, we directly have imported, or we directly have used this particular form right here, which is an inbuilt form. And we have simply added a submit button right at the end in order to make the user submit the form. So now we cannot directly go ahead and add an input type over here as an email, because that's obviously not going to work. So now let's learn how exactly can we add an additional field to an inbuilt Django form. So whenever you actually want to add an additional field to a particular form, what you need to do is that you actually need to go ahead and extend that particular form. So what exactly do I mean by extending a particular form? So if you talk about this form right here, which is the form which we have created, we have actually created this form inside the views.py file for the users. So if you actually go to the users views.py file, as you can see, we have created this form from the user creation form, which means that we already have all the fields of that form in the user creation form. Now there is one thing which you need to remember, that is you cannot directly go ahead and add any different field to the user creation form, but what we can do here is that we can create a completely new form, inherit the user creation form in that particular form, and also add the email field to it. So what we essentially do here is that we create a completely new form which is going to be created by us, and in that form we will inherit the user creation form, and then we will also add the email field to the new form which already has the user creation form. So now let's see how exactly can we go ahead and do that. So in order to do that, we actually go ahead and create our very own forms.py file in the users app. So if you go to the users app, you just need to go ahead and create a new file and call it as forms.py, and this forms.py file is going to contain all the user built forms. So whenever if you want to create your very own form, you can go ahead and do that in this particular file right here. So first of all, you need to go ahead and import forms here. So I'll type in from Django, that's going to be import forms. And now we also need to go ahead and import the user model as well, because we are going to create a form related to users. So I'll type in from django.contrib.auth.models. I'm going to import the user model, and the reason why we are importing user model from here is because user is not actually the model which we have created, but instead it's actually inbuilt into Django. So you need to import that from here. And now you also need to go ahead and import the user creation form as well, because you need to inherit from that particular form. So you type in from django.contrib.auth, that should be auth.forms, import, that's going to be user creation form. Okay, so now once we have all these imports, let's go ahead and create our very own form. So in order to create our very own form, we create that in the form of a class. So you type in class, and in here you name this particular form as, let's say, register form. So now this is the new form which we will be using instead of user creation form, and this particular register form is going to inherit from the user creation form. So now whenever you want to make a particular class inherit something from some other class, then what you do is that you go ahead and pass that class as a parameter to this particular class right here. So as now we want to inherit from the user creation form, I'll simply type in user creation form here. And now once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much good to go. So now what we want to do is that to this particular register form, we want to add an additional field, which is the email field. So in order to add an additional field, you type in the field name over here, and that's going to be equal to forms dot, that's going to be email field, meaning that we are adding a particular field, we are naming that field as email, and the type of that field is nothing but email field. So now once we actually have this particular class for the register form, now we go ahead and define a meta class for this particular class. So what exactly do I mean by a meta class? So a meta class is nothing but the class which provides information about this class itself. So for example, now we want to state that we want to add this particular field to the register form. So we can do that by having a meta class over here. So I can type in class meta, which means that this particular class is going to hold information about this particular class, which is the register form. So now in here, we specify two things in this particular meta class. The first thing is that we specify the user model which this form is going to be using. So Django actually knows that you have created this particular form right here. It does not know to which particular model this form belongs to. So this form actually belongs to the user model. So we'll type in model equals, that's going to be user. And now along with this, there is also one more field which you need to specify, and that is fields. So you also need to specify which all fields are going to be present in this particular form. So for that, you simply type in fields and you create fields over here. So the fields which you want is that you want the username, you want the email, which is this field which we have created just right now, and then you need a password over here. So you type in password, and this is going to be password 1, and you actually need another field which is password 2. So these are nothing but these are the fields to confirm the password. So if you actually go to the register form, you will notice that we actually have two inputs for the password. The first one is to actually accept the password, and the second one is to confirm the password. So that's the significance of those fields over here. And now once this form is created, we can now go ahead and use this particular form in our register view. So let's go back over here, and right now as you can see, we are using the user creation form here, but now we can go ahead and replace that and use the register form. So even before you go ahead and use the register form, you need to go ahead and import that form up over here. So you can type in from dot forms import the register form, and now what you can simply do is that you can replace the user creation form with the register form. So I'll replace that over here. This is going to be register form, and this thing is going to be register form as well. Okay, so now once we do that, we can also go ahead and delete the user creation form from here because we no longer need it right over here. So once I go ahead, delete that, we should be good to go. And now we should have the email field in our register form. So let's go ahead and see if we get that. So let me just go to register, and as you can see, now we not only have the username field, but we also have the email field right over here. So now let's go ahead and try to register a new user. So I'll type in new user, let's say new user 1. Let's say the email is newuser1@gmail.com. Let's say the password is test456 test456, and now when I click on sign up, as you can see, the account is created. And now let's go ahead and make sure if the email field for this particular user is added. And in order to check that, we simply go to the admin. I simply log in with my admin credentials here. So when I go ahead and log in, and when we go to users, as you can see, we have new user 1 over here, and it also has the email address field as well. That means we have successfully added the email address field for our users form, which we have created by inheriting from the user creation form. So that means we were successful in adding the email field to the user creation form by inheriting the user creation form and creating our very own form right here. So whenever you have to create a new form, you can simply go ahead, create a form here, and you can inherit from the inbuilt form from Django. So in this case, this register form is the form which we have actually created, and we have inherited from the inbuilt form, which is the user creation form. And then to actually add a field, we have simply made a field over here, and we have simply used the meta class over here and added up that field over here along with the model which the form belongs to. And now, once we know how to actually go ahead and register users, in the upcoming lecture we will learn how to log in and log out the users. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.